We're getting into number 2, the brain waves, right? So it has been shown that the brainwave state of children are incredibly lower than adults. What's the big deal with that, you ask? See, in order to change the subconscious mind's programming, you must enter those lower brainwave states. Why? Because the brainwave states are linked to hypnosis. And we do some hypnosis within the program as well to work through different areas. So when you were a child, you literally were in a hypnotized state where you believed everything everyone ever told you. And we know that, like the fairy tales and the Tooth Fairy and Santa Claus, we believed all that stuff up until, a certain age, right? Why? Because you haven't developed the ability to critically think yet. This is one reason why you may have unwanted programs playing in your mind. Because you didn't truly get to decide when you were an innocent, moldable child. Because in those ages, that's when you're most moldable, right? So there is good news though, and that is you get to decide now. You're not that gullible, moldable child that you were back then. You get to decide now. You have a choice. Once you reach the hypnotic state where you are in a state of focused attention with deep relaxation and a curiously detached parallel awareness, then the hypnotist can deliver the therapy, right? By accessing your subconscious brain and thus your learned behavior pattern, making system, setting aside the conscious brain. When you're in this state, you are most suggestible to desired changes. What is important is the transformation of the suggestion into action, and it happens at the subconscious level of the mind. It is also said that any level of trance, even a light trance, can be effective as long as it allows for your thought processes to be addressed without the constant critical thinking of the conscious mind. So let's just imagine all throughout your childhood people giving you suggestions. All these suggestions stuck because you were in a trance-like brainwave state and couldn't filter the truth from falsehood. Others were giving you suggestions on how to think, feel, act, what's right, what to believe, what's wrong, and so much more, right? Since you spend your daily life in mostly the beta brainwave, you're above the lower brainwave state, and in a beta, you aren't as suggestible, right? So now you can return into those lower brainwave states from your childhood to change the programming that is playing in your subconscious mind. Because let's just face it, it's not your fault that people suggested ideas to you and you had no choice but to accept them back then, right? This all happened so you could get to this point in your life where you're evolving your state of consciousness to a higher level. Because without those experiences and sufferings that we've went through, many of you, including myself, probably would not have been motivated enough to break free from society's molds and reach the level that you are at right now. It was through the contrast in life that you become aware enough to choose, and you are doing the same thing right now, right? Whether you recognize it or not. But remember, just as others programmed you with certain ideas, so have others been programmed as well, right? So, with that, so when people are being, insulting you and not liking what you're doing or don't understand you, don't take that personally. Remember, they were programmed as well. They are just subconsciously repeating the cycle that has been taught to them, which is a reflection of their own programming in their life. Beneath all the layers of identity and suffering in the subconscious mind, every single soul is loving and compassionate. Every single soul. When you hear me say that someone is asleep, I mean that they are still subconsciously repeating the cycles of the ego goers of society, right? Society has a standard in which they live by. What success means and what's good and what's bad and all that, right? The whole of society's beliefs and standards are determined by each person who chooses to live by those standards. Many people don't even realize they have a choice, and maybe you didn't know either, and that's okay. When we blindly accept ideas about the meaning of things without even critically thinking about them, this is how a trance works, right? The lower brainwave states are associated with sleep. That is why the awakened souls call asleep the others asleep, due to the trance-like ways of living of the souls who just believe what they are told by a single source without any further investigation. This is widespread in our society. One of the biggest genetics of humanity, evolution into one of peace, love, and harmony, is because the one who are suffering many times do not understand they are causing themselves suffering by the way in which they perceive reality. Right? It's all about the way that you perceive something. It changes the way that you look at your reality. For some reason I cannot talk today. They're always thinking that it's someone else's fault, right? And I've been there. Believe me, when I got out of the domestic violence, everything was everybody else's fault. So I've been there. This is because it's hard to come to the realization that the way in which you think reality is may not be helping you. And also, it's equally important to realize that not everyone has your best interests at heart, right? I'm coming to you to tell you this in the most loving way possible. Your parents did the best that they could, but they still relayed beliefs to you that they thought were best at the time, right? But what your parents thought were best for you was in the past, often based on the standards of society, right? So some of these may have been better in the past, and some may have been worse. The point is, other people, including society at large, may have motives for why they are regurgitating, I can't even say that word, but they're repeating everything and saying the same words, regurgitating. I like that better than that word, but I just can't say it. I can hear it in my mind, but I can't say it. Certain beliefs to you, right? So, whether you want those beliefs or not, they were most likely put there because the people thought it was right, or just wanted you to stay stuck like they are, right? And are not open-minded to something different because they're too identified with and attached to their beliefs. Like this with online business, starting an online business. Some people will be like, oh, okay, well, that's awesome, and stand behind you. And some people are just not going to be open-minded to it because they are stuck in their beliefs that it's like grind. You have to grind all the time. You have to go to work all the time. You have to go to a building all the time. You have to, show up to a boss out all the time. I mean, it's the beliefs. So it's their perception of reality, right? That's just what families tend to do as well. They share their beliefs to their young so that they may carry on that same tradition. But what if the tradition of our society were based on lack, the suppression of personal power, and materialistic motivation? We have the ability to let go of that tradition and embrace a more empowering point of view, one in harmony with others, nature, and live connected to one another. Now that you're older and able to critically think about why you believe the things that you do, you can do this. So with that said, tomorrow I want to discuss some things to take note of about the subconscious mind. So stay tuned for that, and then we have one more after tomorrow. So I'm recording all these in one day, but you'll get them every day, every other day, or every, you know what I mean. The words are just not coming today. And even when I had them wrote down in front of me, I typed them out, I talked them out, and then the little machine typed them out for me. I still can't get them out. But with that said, I love each and every one of you. You guys have an amazing day. And yes, peace, love, and harmony.